It's a great weekend. And it was just anarchy. It's so funny, because we're sitting there and we're watching. We have 20 screens up. Not really. We have like six screens, and we're just watching everything. And really, it can be overwhelming. When we have like 4, 5
Yeah.
noon slots, and you're just like bing, 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 like going all over the place. And then you also try to have on an Ohio State and an Indiana game as well. You're just like, oh my gosh, this is sensory overload. And because we had a couple of weeks off of that, we didn't have that. We only had 6 games all day. We were loaded up on this week, so it was good to see though. It was fun, and it's very encouraging. I think for our league, especially with the AP poll, which y'all know I hate the AP poll. I cannot stand those guys. But with how they moved them, I will say the committee surely to me looks like they've been looking at that AP poll every single week and kind of being reflective of that. So we'll see if that trend continues. Would not be shocked if it isn't. Let's just call a spade a spade. But as KG said, number 5 losing is a huge deal. Number 19 losing, huge deal. 7, 9, all these people in front. 12 looked bad. Boise State did not look good. There's some real opportunity here, for Clemson and for SMU to jump into this top 12. I would not be shocked at all if we see Clemson 12, SMU. I think SMU needs to be ahead of Miami. Let's just be real. They look
You look at the
significantly
resume.
better and a more complete team, better resume, things of that nature. I think they should be 7, 6, and then Miami in the 8 or 9 range. So we'll see if that's reflective of it. I'm fascinated to see it in this race. It got more exciting, KG, because
Yeah.
it seemed like after Clemson lost to Louisville, it was like, here we go. ACC is going to get one freaking team in, and it's so annoying. And now you're like, is there a shot they get 3 again? Do we feel back confident because all these other people are losing? I think I feel really good about 2, but depending on who and when and what, maybe 3 is a possibility.
Yeah. I think this is literally the perfect weekend. If you're the ACC, this is what you want to happen, and it happened. And Mac, as much as you and I have spent some time hating on the 12-team playoff, it adds so much more intrigue as we get late in the season. Because right now, if we just
Yeah.
had a 14 playoff, it would be Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, Penn State, LOL, Notre Dame, whatever. And you
Yeah.
wouldn't really have these other teams involved. But that's just so fun to me. To your point with the AP poll, Clemson jumped 5 spots in the AP poll up to 12. SMU jumped 4 spots up to 9. Miami jumped 3 spots up to 8. And I agree with you on SMU and Miami. Miami, the Florida win is starting to look better as Florida
Right.
decides to play.
Yeah.
And I also think Georgia Tech is a good team. So that's, to me, it's not a bad loss when you look at Georgia Tech and how they've looked overall this year. But we're going to spend a little more time big picture on this episode. We're going to talk
Mhm.
about the 3 ranked teams and spend a little time on that Georgia Tech game because that game was insane. And then we'll do speed round going through the rest because there's a
Yeah.
lot of big picture going on here, Mac.
There really is. And so I kind of wanted, before we even move on to those games, I wanted to just bring up the 3 and how I think, it's really possible for them to get in.
Okay,
I
tell
think
me.
the way that it would happen is all 3 win out. They win the rest of their games here, which is one more. They win this week, rivalry week for everybody. Clemson does their thing against Carolina. Miami beats Cuse, and then SMU beats Cal. That would put Miami and SMU in. They're
Right.
in the championship. Clemson's just hanging out. They're just waiting for who's going to fall. Is it going to be an ACC team? Is it going to be the loser of the SEC championship? Whatever. Is the Big 12 even in? Like, are we even looking at them participating, which is
Great
fascinating
question.
just to see? Crazy, right? So certainly, I think to get 3, we still need help. We do not control the nobody, really controls how many they're getting in, especially with all these losses and how weird it
Except for
is.
the
But so
SEC,
that's
Mac,
the maybe.
because
I
they
mean,
have a
they're beating
quota.
each other up. They're honestly, Florida and Oklahoma need first round buys. Let's be real. Anyway, when you look at it, I think that's the scenario that has to happen. And then the last piece of it is the highest ranked team of the 3, which I think
Right.
should and will be SMU. If they lose close,
Yeah.
Miami
Yeah.
wins by a 60-yard Borregales field goal. All three are in. That'll
Yeah.
happen. That'll happen.
I,
So
I love
that's
that you
probably what
broke
it
that
would
down.
take.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And again, it takes help from others. Others need to lose. Others need to not be able to be in. We'll see. But that could be a really fun situation.
Yeah. So it's interesting. Like, do you root? I don't know if you're a Clemson fan, you obviously root for yourself to beat Carolina. Do you root for Miami? I think you root for Miami to lose because you want to get in the championship so that you can get the automatic.
Right.
But
Right.
for the ACC as a whole, I think you want a Miami SMU title game. And Clemson would almost be playing the Notre Dame role of years past. Like, you don't have to play in a
Right.
championship game, so you
Hanging
don't
out.
have to lose. And then other people lose and blah, blah, blah. And the other thing, too, that we didn't really talk about preseason of, can the ACC get 2 or 3? What would have to happen? The idea of the Big 12 getting skunked, like getting left out of this thing, we didn't really think of that as a scenario, but that is actually the perfect scenario to get 3 in because they're going to put in, for the ACC, they're going to put in SEC, they're going to put 3 of those in. They're probably going to put 3 Big Ten and whatever. That's what you need. And so if you get 3 ACC teams in and the SEC only gets 3, what are we talking about right now, Eric McLean? So
I know.
it really went, shout out to Oklahoma, Brent Venables, handling business. Shout out to Florida. Like, that is exactly what you needed to happen. And it just kind of, I know the SEC wants their narrative of every night's a tough night, but like, your best teams lost to very down Oklahoma and, getting better, but down Florida. Like, you can't just say, oh, we're so elite, we beat up on each other every week. Like, you're losing to these bad teams, these teams that just have not been good all year. So that helps the ACC.
And these were big spreads too, right? Did you remember? Do you know the spreads? I mean, it was big. It was big numbers.
OU Alabama was 14.5, probably something around there.
Right.
Yeah. So
I mean, it's a big deal, and that's why you got to play the game. At the end of the day, and going back to even last season, you got to play. It's not just, well, this is what we think. No, you got to go out there. You have to play the game and see it happen. And it's a fascinating deal. It really is. And just how this all shakes out. You mentioned it earlier about the 12-team playoff and just the excitement. There was a lot of people that were just super skeptical about this. It's going to take away the meaning of the regular season. I think it has heightened it tenfold, KG, because every single weekend it feels like, for the last 3 weeks, 2 weeks for sure, it feels like it's been playoff football because you lose. And then when Clemson lost, it was like, it's over. It's all done. And then they come flying back in, and have a shot here. And so I love it. I think it's fantastic. It's going to be really, really fun just to see, this first iteration, what the home games look like, what that first round bye, how much does that help or hurt because you take more time that you're not playing real football. I just can't wait to see it.
I have one more big picture thing I want to bring up, and then we're going to get to these ranked teams and what they did. I have a legitimate question, and I'm so curious to see what the playoff committee does. Is Indiana going to make this playoff with the one ranked team they've played all year? They get blown out. And then you look at the rest of the team, they haven't beaten a single ranked team. Like, I'm just curious. because I think that affects the ACC tremendously when it comes down to Clemson or a loser of Miami, SMU, or whatever. Do they put Indiana in? Where is Indiana after this week? That is a very, very interesting point to me. And I'm not necessarily saying they should leave Indiana out. Like, you beat who's on your schedule. And somehow Indiana's schedule on the ESPN College Football Power Index, their strength of schedule, okay, it's 51. Their strength of record is 7. Their strength of schedule is 51. So with all that, are they going to put Indiana in? That's one of my big questions.
It will be interesting. I mean, I think I would hate to see them not, just because, again,
I would almost feel bad.
You play who you play. Yeah, you play who you play, and it's not their fault. But, you got to control what you can, and you had that opportunity, and it didn't look like you were ready. Didn't look like you were ready for the moment. Outside of about a quarter and some change, it just looked like you got ran out of town.
Also, what does it say about the rest of the Big Ten? That's what I'm curious about. Like, you won all these games handily, and then you go get beat by arguably the one or two good teams.
Well, that's what that's what it's always been. right?
I
And
know.
it's like that for every league. It's like that for every league. It's been like that for Clemson. It's
Mhm.
been like that for Ohio State. 1 year Michigan. It's like that for Alabama or Georgia or LSU, whatever, with a couple of different, obviously deeper factors in some of those. But that is what it is. That there's that one team that seemingly every year just bulldozes through everybody, and the rest kind of fight amongst themselves.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I will always remain suspect of the Big Ten.